everyone, my name is Jasmine Camber. I did the Terracotta Army of Xi'an. I'm going to turn that down. And on top you can see the Chinese characters for the Terracotta Army. Means Bing Rayong, that's the exact name. And I actually brought a book along. You guys can just pass it along. It just has some really nice pictures that you can look at. Okay, first a quick introduction. The exact location of the site is 18 miles outside of Xi'an, as you can see here on the map. This is in north-central China, and it's in the Shaanxi province. It was discovered by chance in 1974, actually by a group of farmers who were digging for a well in the area, and they found these figures and reported it to the local government. After this discovery was reported, excavations started, and once the archaeologists found that there were over 8,000 of these life-size figures buried, they really started to realize how significant this site is. It was rated one of the most significant archaeology discoveries in the 20th century. And really the unique thing about these figures is that each one of these over 8,000 figures is different from each other. They differ in facial expressions, in hairstyles, in dress. They were dressed differently according to military rank, and they also differ in height. It's also believed that since the emperor at that time had his own army to protect him, which was usually the size of about 8,000 soldiers, it's believed that each soldier is based on an actual human being at that time. Here you can see a close-up picture of one of the soldiers, what they must have looked like 2,000 years ago when they were buried. You can see the coloring very nicely. However, the time that they were buried, unfortunately, the colors have faded, so you can't really see the exact colors anymore. Here you have a close-up of what they look like today. You can just see how they have different hairstyles and facial expressions that differ quite a lot. The figures measure between 5 feet and 8 inches to 6 feet and 7 inches, so they're pretty tall. And when they were buried, each figure held a bronze weapon in their hand that were commonly used by the army in that time. In total, there were over 40,000 bronze weapons discovered while digging or the excavations were taking place. There were also life-size clay horses as well as wooden chariots. And it's estimated that it took over 36 years and 700,000 people to construct this site. Next, a little bit about the history. The army was constructed under Emperor Qin Shi Huang. He was the first emperor in China, and he was also the first to unify the entire territory. That's why he was commonly known as the Great Unifier. He ruled for only 11 years, but in that time he was really able to achieve a lot. Besides unifying the country, he also imposed a single writing, money, and weight system, and he was also largely involved with constructing the Great Wall. As Stephen mentioned in his presentation last week, the emperor also had a mausoleum built for him for his afterlife, as a burial place. And it's believed that the Terracotta Army was supposed to protect this mausoleum. Another interesting fact is that all the soldiers are facing towards the west, which is where Mongolia is located, and they were known as the common enemy during that time. A little bit about the World Heritage Site or list. It was added to the list in 1987, and mostly because of its high cultural value and due to the fact that it really shows a lot about bronze and pottery craftsmanship during that time, as well as military organization. Next, I'm going to talk a little bit about the challenges of the site. As we all know, pollution in China is a big issue right now. It's just getting bigger and bigger. So that definitely has an effect on the site. Particles, and dirt that's transported through the air damages the terracotta soldiers. Another problem is mold. The figures are located in a pit where just a lot of humidity is always around. So that is an issue that has been addressed by the management of the site, and they're actually doing a pretty good job on getting that under control. Another problem is tourism. The people who come to visit the site, the amount is pretty high, and they tend to have pretty big impact on the humidity levels and the temperature within the pit. So as more and more people are learning about this site and come to visit it, this problem is increasing. Another problem is the lack of funding. The site mostly relies on entry fees for the museum to fund their operations, and obviously this stands in direct conflict to the issue of tourism. For the protection of the site, there has been a protection hall built, as you can see in the picture right over there. Also, there are various ongoing research projects, such as how to reduce mold or humidity in the area, as well as temperature and moisture control systems that were implemented in this area. Just some ideas of how the site could be better protected in the future. One option would be to restrict tourism. However, that would reduce the funding of the site, so that would make things a little difficult. Therefore, as tourism is increasing in the area, I feel that they could use the funds or the extra funds that they're gaining from this to better protect the site and reinvest that money. Another useful thing would be to educate the public about the importance of this site and make them aware really of how significant it is in preserving their historical culture. And another thing would possibly be to look into private funding as wealth is increasing in China. Maybe there would be certain individuals who would be willing to invest money in the site to protect it. Some fun facts. Some of you might have seen the movie The Mummy, or at least heard of it. They're actually currently filming a third sequel of it, and one of the scenes will be taking place among the Terracotta Army. So I don't know how that's going to work out. But and then another thing is that in last September, actually, a German student, he was studying art history in China. His name is Pablo Wendell. And he said that he had always dreamed of visiting Terracotta Army because he just thinks it's the greatest thing. So he decided to really go to try to experience the whole Terracotta Army, and he dressed up as a terracotta soldier and jumped into one of the pits. And he was probably down there for about 5 or 6 hours before he was found by the guards. So here you can see a picture. Looks pretty good. I wouldn't have been able to spot him right away. And here you can see him being taken away to the guards. And then we have one last picture of 2 other members of our Bryant community who were able to go visit the Terracotta Army.
We didn't jump.
And that's the end of my presentation.